Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lila Nishmas Rosi Ruspas Mordechai. Mazel Tov to Avraham Livitz. He's been with us since, I believe, Masechtas Temura, maybe Me'ila, somewhere around there. Nachman Seltzer used to tell him good morning every single day. I had to ask Nachman. I said, there's other people that watch YouTube besides you and Avraham. So here he is by his son's chasana with Chayim Peretz Levin, CP, right? No. And this is his son who also does the chassan, who also does the daf with us. I believe his name is Zev, yeah? I don't remember anymore. Yeah? You know, he was here a bunch of times. Rabbi Isai, the goal today is to get to the Mishnah. I don't know if it's going to happen. That's what we're going to aim for. It's very important to finish the sugya because it's in the middle of a sugya. So, we're going to try to start as quickly as possible. One email. Screen is off. Okay. Say it. Talk to the guys that are in charge of the screen. Here, there's another screen over here. So, in the past few days, younger man from Borough Park was here, and he told me this amazing story, and I told him, please send it in an email. And he said, I already sent it to you in an email. He's right. He sent it to me on April 7th. And I'm saying this because it's interesting. You guys are going to laugh what he says here, but a beautiful thing. I'll say about Peh. He was having difficult time, surgeries back and forth. And there he is on the operating table, looking around, and he's really nervous. He's very, very scared. He sees all these surgeons and these machines, and they're hooking him up to all these pipes. And he says, Kadosh Baruch Hu, give me a sign, give me something. And then he said to himself, let me just read it. As much as I tried staying strong, I couldn't think of anything to pull myself together. I asked Hashem, please show me a sign of strength. All of a sudden, a light bulb goes up in my head. Maybe I should learn Perek Arvei Psochim, since it's before Pesach, and maybe I should learn B'chavrusa with Reb Eli. Just the thought itself put me at ease. They administered the anesthesia. I remember waving to the doctor, drifting away and looking forward to meeting Reb Eli with the Gemara on the other side. After I woke up, I opened up my Torah Anytime app, took the Gemara and learned the Perek Arvei Psachim together with you a few times. We Baruch Hashem finished it, made a siyum, and I even drank an extra shot of l'chaim in your honor. Thanks again for being there for me. So-and-so from Borough Park, so yishkoyach. Tremendous thing. Some people take a shot of l'chaim. Some people have rishis seltzer with their arvei psachim. But either way, with Rabbeinu David, rishis seltzer with Rabbeinu David. You're right. Another beautiful thing. I don't have an email of this, but he just sent me a message. Dov Harris, who made his way to England yesterday from Eretz Yisrael, he was here with us in Shir. He wanted to do something special on the way back. He's going to finish Masechtas Megillah. He told me, indeed, he finished Masechtas Megillah, reviewing the shiurim. Are you still doing Megillah? So here you go. Here's a person, his travels that took him from Eretz Yisrael to England, finished an entire Masechta. You can do 2-speed, but it's still Kedai. Rabbi Isai, you're not going to believe it. We're still going on a streak. We have here Rabbi Brody from Lakewood, New Jersey. Shalom Aleichem. What's your first name again? Israel Meir Brody from Lakewood. Shkoyach. Okay, this month's sponsor for the Koil is hatzlacha kol mishpachas MDY. First, parnasah Ahron Fraiman Lzchus, continue parnasah siyadta dishmaya hatzlacha to rebelli. Parnasah by the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood, New Jersey, because Torah is the best segulah. Parnasah לעילוי Nishmas Chaya Yosef. And by Noam Fix's mother, Chaya Fix, לעילוי Nishmas David ben Chayim Moshe. And for Cobi's bar mitzvah and the amazing job we'll be doing, laining the parsha on Shabbos. Mazel tov. Who's Cobi? Is it you? When's your bar mitzvah? Next week? This coming Thursday? Everybody invited in Yerushalayim, Yerakodesh. Shuey Katz, Lili Nishmas Avraham ben Moshe. By Michael Leichter, in honor of Levi Leichter, Yitzi and Chayim Katz, and the great Hillel Kamiansky. I know it's his birthday. It's Michael Leichter's birthday yesterday, 40. Big 40. I don't know, there's nobody sponsored, but I know that. Hudin Arid Newman, in honor of Noam's 10th birthday. Wow, Mazel Tov Noam. No. Hudi and Orit Newman in honor of Noam's 10th birthday and Avishai's bar mitzvah. Rabbi Isai, beautiful sugi today. Here we go. We're holding Daf Tzaddik Amud Aleph, and we actually did a bunch of lines down. We're holding by Omar Rabbi Yehuda, like 6 lines down. So just to review, you have it on the screen if you don't want to look inside. The Gemara says, a beautiful kavachomer. Ma b'mokim shabo al iser kal nesar iser. There's a lot of cryptic riddles today. Interesting l'shaynas, but they're all easy. Nesar ha'oiser. What does that mean? The Gemara, we're going to have a long discussion of the Gemara. At the end, it's going to come out that we're talking about a husband. That he makes this woman usher on the whole world. He's the oiser. He makes a woman usher to every other man in the world. He becomes usher when she has relations with somebody else. And that's considered kal. It's easy avera of eshes ish. Makom shaba al isur chamur enidin. So certainly, if a person has relations with his wife's sister, which is more chamur than eshes ish, certainly he himself should be usher to his own wife. Again, if when is in a place that he makes this woman usher, he becomes usher to her. If a wife has relations with somebody else, she becomes usher to her own husband. So the Gemara wants to say, here's a kavachomer to say that when a husband marries or has relations with his wife's sister, he becomes usher to both of the women. The wife, who's not guilty at all, the original wife, becomes usher to her husband as well from this kavachomer. Fine. So that was the kavachomer that we started yesterday, and therefore the Gemara brought a pasuk. V'shachav ish oisa. No, she's not guilty. Oisa is only when she herself did an isser, then she herself becomes usher to her husband. But if her husband did an isser, why should she be usher to her husband? So here we're holding Omar Rabbi Yehuda. Everybody agrees that if a person has relations with his own mother-in-law, that he becomes, not only is he chayiv misa, but let's say in a place that there's no misa, there's no bezin that could kill him, he becomes usher to his wife. A person that has relations with his mother-in-law, he becomes usher to his wife. There's no machlokes, says Rabbi Yehuda. Gemara doesn't agree with him, but he says everybody agrees. He has relations with his mother-in-law. So where's the machlokes? What if he has relations with his wife's sister? Does that answer his wife to him? They don't hold to this pasuk oisa. They hold that by the husband committing an avera, he could answer somebody that's not involved at all, such as his own wife. He had relations with his wife's sister. His own wife becomes also to him. It says in the pasuk oisa. They don't hold of that. What do they hold of? This, the kavachomer. That if a husband becomes usher to his wife with the relationship the wife had with somebody that's usher, so certainly the sister of when a person has relations with his wife's sister, the wife becomes usher. Zog the Gemara, Beis say no, we have a pasuk. The pasuk states mefurish, oisa. Only when the woman commits the avera herself does she become pasul to her husband, but not in another way. Amar Rabbi Yosi, no, I argue. We have 2 cases here. We have a chaysisha and we have chamoisai. Says Rabbi Yosi, if a person has relations with his sister-in-law, his wife's sister, it doesn't create a problem for the wife. But there is a machlokes b'ba'al chamoisai. What if he has relations with his mother-in-law? Why? The Gemara explains. Before these 2 men got married, he was mutter to all the women in the world. She was mutter to all the men in the world. What happened? Kitcha, they got married. She becomes usher in all the men in the world, and he also becomes usher to very few women in the world because of her. Who? her relatives, her mother, her sisters, etc. Meruba isur shasra misur shaisarta. Obviously, who created more of an isur? The wife, the man created more of an isur on the wife. Now she's usher to every single man in the world. Billions of people she's usher to. So now the Gemara says, Umahu, the isser that he causes, what if the wife, he made her very, very usher to every single man in the world, but look what happens if she had a relation with somebody else by mistake. Is she usher on her husband? No, look at the pasuk. V'hiloi nispasa, it says. She did it without any force. But if she made it by mistake, she's not chayiv. This whole pasuk, there's a pasuk in siyadta, right? It's dafka v'hiloi nispasa. If she's not, but if she is not guilty, she did it b'shagig, she's not a siyadta, she's not also. When she creates an isser on him, which is a choisisha, sister-in-law, she did a smaller isser. She only assered on her own kroivim, shagabasalai, and it didn't shlei nesalai, b'mutalai. So certainly he shouldn't be asser, or his own wife shouldn't become asser to him because he had a relationship by mistake with his sister-in-law. If she, who's more chamer, has a relationship by mistake with another man, she doesn't become asr to her husband. So certainly he, who has a relationship with his sister-in-law by mistake, shouldn't ask her anything. So that's by mistake. And how do I know if he did it on purpose? He had a relation with his sister-in-law b'mezid. So that I need the pasuk oisa. If she herself creates the isser, that makes it asr on her. Her sister can't come into the picture and ruin it for her and ruin her marriage. My time of the Rabbi Yehuda says that if a person has a relationship with his mother-in-law, it asers his own wife. Where did he get it from? The chsiv be'esh yisrifu oisoi ve'esen. The pasuk that we had yesterday. Ish asher yigach zisha v'simo zimahi. You can't marry your mother-in-law together with your wife. Be'esh yisrifu, there's a penalty of sreifa, burning, death. Give him that hot molten. Who dies? Oisoi, okay, the man. Ve'esen, and both of the women. Ask the Gemara, what we asked yesterday. Again, a man marries a woman. He was allowed to marry her. She didn't do anything wrong. This crazy guy goes ahead and has a relationship with his mother-in-law. What did the wife do? She did nothing. She wasn't involved at all. She didn't even know about it. And you're going to kill her? So obviously it can't mean that we're going to kill her. So we had different shatim yesterday. Rabbi Kiva said this and that it means that they're both alive. What's Rabbi Yehuda has a new pshat? The pshat is that she, the wife who had nothing to do with it and didn't know about it, she becomes usher to her husband because her husband was a bad guy and had a relationship with her mother, with his mother-in-law. That makes her usher to him forever. That's how Rabbi Yehuda learns. Who? No. For sure. That's another halacha, that he's going to get sreifa and she's going to get sreifa. But in addition to that, she, the wife, as hen, becomes asur. Yeah, in addition to that. I'm saying, what about in a case where there's no sreifa, there's no edim, there's no asra, there's no bezdin in our days? Let's say in our day, a guy has a relationship with his mother-in-law, we find out, the bezdin is going to pass, and you cannot be with your wife, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shmuel comes Shmuel and says, Ein halacha ki Rabbi Yehuda. So a mother-in-law doesn't asser a wife. If the guy has a relationship with the mother-in-law, the wife remains married.
You assume the guy's crazy.
We spoke about this. Shuftana, yeah. Crazy or whatever it is. Yep. I know somebody, by the way, Stam, you're mentioning, I know somebody. He went on a date. He knocks on the door of this date, never saw the girl. And the mother-in-law opened the door. So he looks at her, he says, I'm here to tell you that my friend can't make the date. And then like all of a sudden this girl shows up. He's like, oops, too late. And that was that. Okay. There's a person who's over this. He was with his mother-in-law. What is he chayiv? Sreifa. Asir Rav Yehuda Nagdei. So Rav Yehuda went ahead and gave him malchus. In other words, he went back to his wife. Omerlei, Ilav Domar Shmuel, Ein halacha ki Rav Yehuda, Asirta halach isur da'olam. We don't pass him like Rabbi Yehuda. You're lucky, he tells him. How are we passing like Rabbi Yehuda? This woman has been usher to you forever. Rabbi Yehuda holds relationship with the mother-in-law, usher the wife. What I'm going to do to you is, I am going to give you malchus. I'm going to beat you, midrabanan. I don't know how much until you learn your lesson. And what does he say? Amalei lav. This is a halacha. Ilav domer Shmuel. In halacha Rabbi Yehuda. This is Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda gave the malchus. And he said, if not that my Rebbe, Shmuel, said that Allah is not like Rebbe, you're lucky that my Rebbe said this. This is a question just for Yehuda David. The Rishonim ask here, real quickly, I'm just saying it for you, because I'm very proud of you. You said a Lamdash Svar yesterday. The Rishonim ask, how could he go back to his wife? The halacha is, if somebody is accused of being misyachad with a woman, so he can never marry any of her relatives. So this man, you hear Yehuda? This man was accused of being with his mother-in-law. So how could he go back to his wife? The answer is what you said yesterday. It's because he was already married. We're not going to answer him. Okay. Zokti Gemara. That's not for anybody else because we're in the middle of a sugi here. Oh, my Yisr Kal. So again, going back to that Kavachomer, let's see the Kavachomer for a second. We have to figure out what this means. Again, a cryptic riddle. In a situation, we have a situation, we don't know what it is. I told you the end of the sugi is talking about Ishizish. But let's think about the words. In a place where there's a very light Isser, the light Isser. In that case, the guy is over Isser. The Isser, the one who created the whole Isser to begin with, he becomes Isser to her. A guy that made, let's say in the case of Ishizish, he made his wife Isser to the whole world, he himself becomes Isser to her. From a Kavachayim. Now we have to know what Isser Kal means. What does it mean? What's a light Isser? And we think it's crazy. It's one of the Gimel Chamurs and we're calling it light. The Gemara will explain why. But we have other light ones. Amar Rav Chizda. Machzer Grushasoy Mishani says here we have a chart. Let's see. Here. We have Ruvain and Rachel who are married and he divorces her. After he divorces her, he gets married to the dentist from the 5 towns. Today we're calling him Gis. It's a nice name, Gis. Gis means in Hebrew a brother-in-law, and that's what we're calling him. That's what the Mishnah calls him. He's brother-in-law. But in this case, I just left him with his name, because for the rest of today, he's Gis. Now, because Gis married Rachel, Reuven can never marry Rachel again, right? There's a mitzvah to remarry your grusha, but not if she married another man. So, before we go to the next step, Gis made Rachel usher on who? On Reuven. So he's an Oyser. We want to see how the Oyser becomes a Nesar. I know it's funny words, but here, if Reuven goes ahead and marries his ex when he wasn't allowed to, he was over Isser, he just made Rachel Osir on Gis. Because she's also now married to another man after, or she had a relationship with another man after Gis divorced her. So the Oyser, Gis, who made Reuven Osir, just became Nesar, became Osir on the woman through the same guy that he made Osir. Again, Gis made Rachel Osir to Reuven. Reuven took revenge and he made Rachel Osir to Gis.
He's doing the same again?
No, he's already Osir. Reuven is living in sin right now. He's not allowed to marry Rachel.
If Gis lived in sin with Rachel,
yeah. And what is he going to gain? Who more is going to be Osir? The double Isser, Reuven is already Osir on Rachel. He has to divorce her. He can't come to Shul. Everybody's going to laugh at him.
If he marries her, then he can't go back.
No, yeah, but Reuven can't go back anyway. Forget about Isser. He's already Osir to Rachel. He's Osir at this point. Right here, Reuven is not allowed to marry Rachel. He married her Be'isser. Next, says the Gemara. So that's Isser Kal. We could understand that part. It's Isser Kal. Marrying your ex is not the end of the world. I mean, Torah says don't do it. You're not going to get Misa for it. You're not going to get Karas. It's Isser Kal. It's a lot lighter than Ishes Ish, right? Hi, the second guy here, Gis, had relations with her. Asar alei dahai. He made it Asar on Ruvain. That's why I like charts. Hi made it Asar on Hi. And he made it Asur on. Okay, so when you see it in front of you, Bala Hai, the second guy, Asar alei dahai, he made it. That's it. Reuven can no longer marry her. Bala Yidach. But when Reuven was over on that and he married her anyway, Asar alei dahai, he made it Asur to Gis. So the Gemara says, okay, and from there you want to learn what? That if I have a relationship with my wife's sister, my sister-in-law, I assured my own wife on me forever. Says the Gemara, but what's the connection? She, in this case, look what she did. Rachel married Reuven. She herself performed the Isser. So that's why she made everything Asur. We'll skip those two words. Rashi takes them out. V'isura b'roiv. We're going to get to them soon. V'isura isur olam. Your grusha is always Asur to you. You can never marry your divorcee, ever. There's no way. But achois isha, you could if he died, the sister dies. Elo Amar Shlakish, what is it? We're trying to look for Isser Kal. Amar Shlakish. Yevama. We're talking about a Yevama. Says the Gemara, Yevama Lama. What does that mean? Eli Mela'acher. So she went and she had relations. She was supposed to be with Shimon. Reuven died. She was supposed to be with Shimon. She went and she married somebody in the street. We're going to have this twice today. According to Rav Nuna, she did an Isser Kal. She wasn't supposed to, she's a Yevama L'Shok, which is a Lav. She went out and married somebody else. Now she is Asur to the Yavam. So in other words, the Yavam caused an Isser for the whole world. When she falls the Yibum, Shimon creates an Isser on her to the whole world. By the fact she went and she had relations with Joe Shmo, that created an Isser to the Yavam. Now the Yavam can no longer marry her. The Isser became a Nesar. The one that made it Isser, the whole world, the Yavam, the whole world, just became somebody that's Asur. So the Gemara, again, once again, the Yevama, she performed the Isser with her own body. Whereas the sister-in-law married to the man who's over the Isser, she didn't do anything. V'yisura b'roiv. Yevama is Asur to the entire world. Ela Yevama lachem. So another case. We're talking about one brother. Rabbi said one brother went ahead. He has a Yevama. He gave her Kiddushin. What is that called? Maimar. That's only Midrabanan. So Reuven gave her Maimar. Comes Shimon and marries her illegally. So Reuven, who made it Asur on this woman to marry anybody in the world, why? Because he gave her Maimar. Reuven just became a Nesar. He can no longer marry her. Why? Because Shimon, his brother, did a no-no. Shimon, his brother, jumped in and married her first. That's Isser Kal. It's only a Derabanan. You're over on Maimer Derabanan. Midaraisa, we don't recognize Kiddushin. So the Gemara explains. The first guy gave money to the Yevama. Asar alei dahai. She just became also to Shimon. Now Shimon anyway went ahead and he married her illegally. Asar alei dahai. Now Reuben, who gave her the money originally, he became Asur. Says Gemara, if so, that doesn't make sense either. Then why are we saying a case in the Kavachomer that there's Bia involved there, even without Bia? If Reuben gives money and then Shimon gives money, Reuben can no longer marry her. It's Maimer Achar Maimer, which works. Says Gemara like it doesn't work. Okay, but still there's something else. There's a problem here. What if the second guy gave her a get? Or if he did a dairaisa, gave her chalitza, then of course she's also to Reuven. Fine. What's a Isser Kal? Saita. A man tells his wife, don't be misyachid with Ploini, and she doesn't listen. She goes ahead and she's misyachid. He has to bring her to the Beis Hamikdash and give her the water, the Mayim Marib. Saita Laman. What's going on here? Ilim Labal. That the Saita is now also to her own husband. So what's the pshat in the words? Baal le'abal asara ale de boil. This husband who made this woman usher to the whole world, he now becomes, he answers the woman by having a relationship with her. So again, the same question, why didn't he be a? If a husband is choshed his wife and he gives her a get, or he says, I don't want to give you the water, but I know that you were misyacha with him, she becomes usher to the bad guy forever. You don't need to be a. Ella siyadta l'boil. We're talking about that the siyadta is with the boil. She has a relation with the boil. She had a relation with the boil. So then what's going to happen? And we're saying because she had a relationship with the boil, with the noyef, so now she becomes usher to the husband. Well, you're going to call that a light isser? That's the biggest isser in the Torah. This is the Gimel Chamuras. It's a Chamur. Great. Daf Amud Beis. Sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of Hillel Zand. Sponsored in honor of Eli.
This week in America.
This week in America, parsha siyadta. Very good. Shkoyach. So finally, we got to where we wanted to get. The Kavachayim goes as follows. If a guy who makes the wife also to the whole world, let's see inside. Easy iser. If his wife has a relationship with somebody else, he himself becomes aser. So certainly in a case of a chaysisha, certainly in a case of a much more chamer case of a chaysisha, certainly if he has a relationship with the sister-in-law, his own wife should become aser. So how in the world can you call one of the three chamer averis in the world? Right up there with Avodah Zarah and Shvichas Damim is Gila Arayis. She'ena Oisra Kol Yamav. The reason why it's easier Avera is because if this woman has her eyes on another man that she's not married to, one day she become mutter to him. If her husband dies, if he gives her a divorce. Whereas a chaysisha, a sister-in-law, can never become a mutter to the husband as long as his wife is alive. So in divorce, so if he divorces his wife, she becomes mutter to the whole world. But a chaysisha doesn't become mutter to the whole world or to the sister. He doesn't become mutter to the sister through divorce. Vera kal is eishesish. Rabbi say, have no fear. We're almost starting a new sugya. This harder sugya, it's going to get much easier now. Eishesish. Umab b'makam iser kal. Sheino iser kol yamav. Neser iser. So here the Gemara says it out. Easy iser called eishesish. That the one who makes her usher to the whole world, if she goes ahead and she has a relation, Neser iser, he himself becomes usher. If he has relations with his sister-in-law, certainly the wife should become asur forever. And that's why we have the word oisa. The wife herself, if she does something wrong, she can make herself asur. No one else, her sister, can't make her asur to her own husband. Okay. Now we have a new sugya. It says in the Mishnah, we didn't explain it at all. I said, I promise we're going to explain it here. It says in the Mishnah, these are the words. Again, a riddle, a cryptic riddle. What is going on here? If somebody passes through other people, he could pass through himself. If he can't pass through other people, he can't pass. What is he arguing? Is he adding? What is going on? And the Gemara is going to say he's arguing with the Tanakama, but it's machlokes. What exactly is he arguing? Okay, very simple. Two shitas. Rabbi Yosef kol shapaisa. My comment, Rabbi Yosef. What is he saying? In the comment Tanakama, here, the story that we had yesterday. You have Ruvain who's married to Rachel, and Gis is married to Leah. Rachel and Leah are sisters. For whatever reason, not because they had a relationship together, Gis and Rachel, they went on a cruise somewhere. They happened to be traveling on the same plane, Eretz Yisrael. Nothing. They didn't have a relationship. Don't look at them like that. But the ship went down. At least they got a Eidechad that says the ship went down. So Reuven says, I know you, you know me. Great shidduch, you're similar. You're my wife, my ex-wife's, not my ex, my previous wife's, my late wife's twin sister, or not twin sister, sister. Let me marry you. So they go ahead and they get married. Then they find out the ship never went down. They made it safely to Israel, to Israel. They came back. Here they are. They're knocking on the door. So very awkward. So the Tanna Kama says, you know what? Reuven, the Chayta Niskar, he goes back to his wife, continues life as nothing happened, to the original wife. Leah Nebuch, she can't go back. Okay, so he makes a distinction between the man and the woman. Leah, she's a Ishasish. She was always married to Gis, and Gis never died, so she had no business being with Reuven. But what does Reuven's relationship with Leah have to do with Rachel? It doesn't sever their relationship. Yes, he did something wrong. He was with Ishasish, with Leah, but why should he break up his relationship with Rachel? Leah cannot remain married to her husband because she had an affair. She was another man. Okay. Says the Gemara, the wife and Gis, the brother-in-law, went to Medina Sayam. Leah, the wife of the brother-in-law of Gis, it becomes Asr to who? To Gis. She becomes Asr, I like that, it's like a good name, Gis. Leah becomes Asr to Gis. V'ishtoi, Rachel, Reuven's wife, Sharia. She's mutter to Reuven. And on that, Kamalei Rabbi Yossi, and what is Rabbi Yossi arguing? No, two checks. If your own wife is mutter, Leah is also mutter. So what's the svara here, real quickly? So Rabbi Yossi argues, no, Leah can go back to her husband. Everybody understands that Reuven couldn't marry Leah. Everybody understands that he's married to a sister. No, you can't marry sisters. So, since it's not necessary for Reuven to divorce Leah, so therefore Leah should become mutter. Why? The whole problem is, if there's a divorce, if there's a get involved there, just even midrabbana, if people are going to speak, oh, you better divorce her because we don't want people to say that Leah just walked around the street after she was married to Reuven, give her a get, we have an issue. No one in the right mind is going to think that Reuven and Leah had a legitimate relationship. They all know that Reuven is married to her sister, Rachel. No, it's not necessary to give a get. So if it's not necessary to give a get, then she could go back to her own husband. Why can't she go back to her own husband? The reason why Leah can't go back, I know it's a little confusing, we'll say it quick, you understand, not understand, great. It's not really important to the sugya to understand the svara behind. The reason why Leah can't go back to her husband, Gis, is because people are going to say that he took her back. First he divorced her. The reason why Leah was with Reuven is because Gis divorced Leah. And then she had a relationship with Reuven. And then Gis took her back. What is that called? Machzir grushatzai achar shenises. That's a big no-no. But that's only if there's a get involved. And people are going to say, oh, she was divorced once and she came back to her husband. If there's no get involved, then let Leah go back to her husband. What happened? She had a relationship with somebody else. It was by mistake. The only reason the Gemara understands, the Rabbi Yossi says, we're not penalizing her. We're only concerned about a chashash that somebody's going to talk. No chashash over here. Okay, next. Yachi, I don't like the words, says the Gemara. The words of the riddle don't fit in so well. Yachi, kol shein poisal yedei acherim, ein poisal yedei atzmoi, kol shein poisal yedei atzmoi, ein poisal yedei acherim ebayalei. Okay, it should have said different. If I'm mutter, me Reuven, I'm mutter, so my Gis is also, or Leah is also mutter to her husband. That's how it should say it. The wording in the riddle is not good if you explain it this way. Oh, another option. You know what Rabbi Yossi is saying? Again, what does Tanna Kama say? One of them is mutter, one of them is asr. Which one is asr? Leah is asr on her husband Gis. Rabbi Yossi comes and argues, no, I'll tell you what, everybody's asr. If Leah is asr to Gis, Rachel is asr to Reuven. Why? So Rashi says a very interesting thing here. Why is Leah usher to Gis? Because there's a little bit of something happened here. A little bit of marriage. It's not a marriage. Reuven never married Leah. But for whatever that reason is, that Leah is usher to Gis, why is Leah usher to Gis? Because she had a relationship with Reuven. They had something to do with each other. Then that comes out that Reuven is married to Leah's sister. Reuven had a relationship with Leah. And that relationship with Leah asked her to Gis. So now Reuven is slightly married to Leah. So Reuven can't be married to Rachel. Get her out of the picture also. Okay? So as far like that. Levi. Rashi says it, not me. It worked a little bit. That relationship with Reuven and Leah worked a little bit. Whatever it did to ruin it for Leah is going to ruin it for the same svara that Reuven shouldn't be married to two sisters. So therefore, I'm putting two X's. Instead of two checks, two X's. So again, Tanakama says one X, one check. I put two X's on it. That's the machlokes. Now that's great to understand the riddle. Let's go back to the riddle, just the lashon of the riddle for a second. I know we have to go through here. I should have done that. Here. That part is great. The red. If you're going to pass a Leah, you're passing Rachel. Now what's the second part? The chol should be in green. And in another case where I don't passel, what's this other case? For that we have two cases. Very, very simple. One case is when it's two Eidim versus one Eid. Two Eidim, I don't passel, right? We said, if you have testimony from two Eidim, I got married legally. So I could go back. Leah could go back to her husband. She based her marriage to Reuven, her brother-in-law, based on two witnesses. That doesn't passel. Okay, so that's one thing that doesn't passel. Or, we're talking about a married woman versus an arusa. We had that svara yesterday. An arusa, you could do a t'nai with an arusa. You could say, if you don't do 25 jumping jacks, then we're not engaged anymore. So people are going to say, oh, that's what happened. And memela, it requires a get. A nesua, nobody makes a deal with his wife. You don't do 25 jumping jacks 6 years after we're married, then our whole marriage didn't take place, because then 6 years I lived with his biznus. And nobody wants to live biznus. He lost his nus. So memela, a distinction. You know what blue is? Nesua. Or you know what blue is? Two Eidim. That's the whole sugya. Let's see inside. Leiby's laughing his head off. I know why. What? Because Dylan worked on it for 4 hours. Okay, fine. So holding over here. It's very simple. Yeah, it's very easy. So over here you have, maybe this is the machlokes over here. No, maybe this is the machlokes. And now says the Gemara like this. Hoteinach. Says the Gemara, okay, what do we do with the second lashon? I have to understand the second part of the riddle. Where do we have a case that he doesn't passel, that she could go back to her husband? What's the case? I don't understand. Areisha, based on what we said in the first mission of our parak, Isha Rabbah. Yeah, there's two program called the Isha in this Masechta. This is three. This is the large one, Ha'isha Rabbah. So, based on what we said, the first mission of Isha Rabbah, Nisis Api, what? Kedusha Rabbah, Isha Rabbah, yeah. Nisis Api, Bezdin, Teitze, I heard a joke. I got to change it around a little bit. There was talking about these guys going to Medina Sayyam, the husband dies, the wife dies. A wife hears a knock on the door in the middle of the night. She opens up the door, two cops. They show her a picture. Say, is this your husband? She goes, yeah. So, well, we're sorry to inform you that it looks like he got hit by a truck. So she goes, I know, but I had to marry him anyways because he's a great guy. All right, Mami. Areisha. Nisapi Bezdin Teitze Pturim in Akarban. Nisapi Bezdin Teitze Pturim in Akarban. So that we had in the first mission of our parak, the distinction between getting married based on two Eidim and based on getting married on one Eid. We said one Eid, she gets married, but if Oivavoy, she gets caught that her husband is alive, she has to get out of both of them. And she doesn't have to bring a carbon. If she gets married with two Eidim, that's the best way to get married. And if her husband comes back alive, she doesn't have to get out of her first husband. So that's what he's saying. That's what it means that there's a heter over here. If it's a case of a heter, what's the case of a heter? She got married based on 2 Eidim. Here, beautiful. What's the first Mishnah? But if she got married based on the testimony of 2, I thought this is funny. Reading it now, I thought it was funny. When I read in the Mishnah, I didn't chap. You hear this stam, a side thing. If Bezdin says she could get married, she doesn't have to bring a carbon. Bezdin is so powerful. Guess what? She can't be with her husband, but she has to pay $200 on a carbon. She saved $200 on a carbon, but she can't be with her husband. If she got married based on 2 Eidim, she could stay married to her husband. Oh, but it's going to cost her $200. That's what you call koyach Bezdin. Bezdin is so powerful, they save her a carbon. Okay, fine. That is their power. The Komer Tanakama, and the Tanakama in our case says Loishna al pi Eidim, Deishis Gisoy Sharia, Veloishna al pi Bezdin, Deishis Gisoy Asira. In both of them, in both cases, Reuven gets back to his wife. That's what the Tanakama is going to hold. In both cases, Reuven gets back to his wife. On that, Rabbi Yossi comes to argue. Again, Tanakama says no matter what, Leah, the second, should go back there. Here, in this case, Reuven goes back to his wife. Leah can't go back to his wife in one of the cases. With the Eidechad. And on that, Rabbi Yossi says, if it was 1 aid, so here, we have this, here, I did it like this. According to this is Rebami. Don't forget, Rebami on the top. Reuven always goes back to his wife, no problem. But Leah depends. If there's 2 Eidim, she could go back to her husband. If it's 1 Eid, she can't go back. That's the whole difference. The parsha de Acherim, parsha de Yatzmoy, al pi Eidim. The ain't parsha de Acherim. Leah doesn't become apostle. Ain't a parsha de Yatzmoy. That's the pshat in the riddle. Through Eidim, where Leah doesn't become Asur, so he doesn't, in a place like that, he doesn't pass Rachel either. That's one pshat number 1. Pshat number 2, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Amar, Lo'ila Maseifa. Forget about the first Mishnah in our parak. We're talking about a case of 1 aid and 1 aid only. That's our Mishnah. So what does it mean in a case that she's mutter? This case right over here. Sorry. No, this is Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says that 1 aid, Leah is Asur, and therefore Rachel is Asur. And 2 Eidim, Leah is mutter, so therefore Rachel is mutter. That's the shot in the riddle. 1 aid and 2 Eidim. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says that Tanakama holds Rachel. We're talking about Arusa and Nesua. Okay? A difference between Arusa and Nesua. The what? The engaged woman went with Gis out of town. In the other cases, that his married wife went out of town. What's the difference, as we said yesterday and today? So the Tanakama makes a nafkamina between Arusa and Nesua. That Nesua no is going to get confused and say that maybe he divorced her, maybe he divorced her because their marriage was absolved through a Tnai, and Arusa there is a Tnai. In Nesua, there's no Tnai. So in Nesua, there's no get. Arusa, there is a get. He says no. I don't say such a distinction. So I'm going to make a distinction like this. According to Rabbi Yossi, since in Nesua he doesn't passel Leah, so he doesn't passel Rachel either. And since Rusa, he does passel Leah, he does passel his own wife. Rabbi Yossi is saying, no, it's not that everybody agrees that Reuven can get back to his wife. No, in a case of Arusa, you can't get back to your wife. And in case of an Nesua, you could get back to your wife. Again, the question is there a get involved there? No get. Are people going to talk? Not going to talk? But Arusa, people do put conditions to their engaged kala, and that creates an isser to Leah. So therefore, he himself, Reuben, cannot get back with Rachel. Okay? So we have those two things and the story basically. Let's try to finish here if we can. I know it's a little tough. We might have to go a few minutes over. Now listen to this. Shmuel says the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. What's Rabbi Yossi? Rabbi Yossi could be this: that arusa is also to go back to her husband. Anusua could. It could also mean this. It can mean Rabami. That eid echad you can't get back to your husband. Shtei eidim you could get back. What does he mean? Another cryptic message. Halacha ke Rabbi Yossi. Which one? Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha or Rabami? Now listen to this. Maskil Rabbi Yosef. This question that Rabbi Yosef is asking is only based on this chart right over here. That's Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. Maskil Rabbi Yosef. Shmuel never said this. I have a contradiction. Vayitmar Yevama, another riddle. A Yevama Rav Amar Reiki Ishisish. Wait a minute. A Yevama is Ishisish? You're allowed to marry Yevama. So again, it's a riddle. We have to understand what it means. Yevama Ishisish. Ushmuel Ma'edek Ishisish. Yevama Rav Huna. Here, just remember this line over here. Rav Huna says it. He did erusin. Kiddush means kiddushin only. He gave her a ring. And then he went to Medina Sayyam. He heard with one aid that his brother in Medina Sayyam died. So he went and he did Yibum. The Rav Omar Reiki. Why? Maybe before he went to Medina Sayyam, he did some sort of Tanai, Vasur li Yavam, and she's also to the Yavam. Who's Yavam, by the way? Over here, Rashi says an incredible thing. Yavam is the guy in Chutz La'aretz, and he's called a Yavam because just in case she gets married to the second guy, legally, if there was a condition like that, then he becomes the Yavam. You hear what's going on here? The husband, the original husband number one went to Chutz La'aretz, he's called the Yavam now, because he potentially could be the Yavam on his own brother. If he gave her a Tanai, and she married the second guy, he becomes fine. Just to confuse us a little bit in the riddle. Well, this is a big problem. According to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, she's aser. Arusa, look at this chart. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says, Arusa, no, you don't go back to the husband. And if it's talking about a case of Arusa by us, we just said, he was Mekadesher, went to Chutz La'aretz, Shmuel says, Eino keishasish. V'shari she could get back to him. There should be a check mark over there. According to what you're saying, according to Rizal Nafcha, it's an X. It should be a check. We have a stira. Who told you that Shmuel's talking about this case? Maybe Shmuel's talking about this case of Rabami. The halacha is like this Rabbi Yossi, not this Rabbi Yossi of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. He didn't mention anything. And even if let's go back to this case of Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. Who said that he's talking about the case on the right where there's an X? Maybe he's talking about the halachas like Rabbi Yossi on the left side, that she's allowed to get back to him if she's married. Maybe that's what he meant. Who told you he's talking about in Arusa? Now you have a contradiction in Arusa to Arusa. He was talking about in Nesua. Another thing. This whole thing is predicated that we're learning pshat in the riddle. Again, riddle. Yevama is Eishesish. Shmuel, she's not Eishesish. Shmuel says not Eishesish. Rav says Eishesish. Riddle. Comes Rav Huna, I'll tell you what the riddle means. The riddle means this and this and that. Who told you that's the pshat in the riddle? I have a new pshat in the riddle, and then you don't have any contradictions. What's my pshat in the riddle? Dil melesa the Rav Huna klal. With the Rav Huna comivli, another thing. The Amar Rav Amnuna shemer siyam shezinsa asur liyevama. Riddle. A Yevama is Eishesish. You know when? When she has nus. Now she becomes usher to her own Yavam because Rav Nuna says she becomes a Zaina. The Rav Amar Eishesish, Mifsal was nus. Rav says she becomes a Zaina. That's the pshat in the riddle. Nothing to do with somebody going to Chutz La'aretz and Leah and Ruvain and this and that. Nothing to do with that. Another pshat in the riddle. Can I, an outsider, be Mekadesh Yevama? She is kuka to her Yavam, to Shimon, comes gis, let's say, some guy from out of town, and gives her Kiddushin, does it grab or not? The Rav Amar Eishesish. No, it can't grab. She's married already. She's kuka to the Yavam. As the Gemara, that can be the pshat in Rav and Shmuel. They're not going to argue in different lashon. The same exact machlokes. They said it once before. they're going to argue once, and the second time, it was something that we were medayik from words that they said, and we said it's a machlokes, but they only actually thought about once. Motzei Shabbos, let's do a pshara. 10:15. Instead of 10 and 10:30, 10:15. 10:15 Motzei Shabbos.